All right, so the independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is trying to get himself out of the latest controversy surrounding his comments about January 6th. The campaign said in a fundraising message stating that protesters that day had been, quote, stripped of their constitutional liberties was an error. Then, in an email to supporters, they said, quote, I have not examined the evidence in detail, but reasonable people, including Trump opponents, tell me there is little evidence of a true insurrection. They observed that the protesters carried no weapons. Now, he later clarified, saying that statement was incorrect. All right, what's going on here, Mark, with RFK Jr.?
Well, he's just accustomed to saying whatever comes into his mind, and some of the stuff that comes through his mind is crazy. Like, 7 months after 9/11, he famously said that pig farmers were more dangerous than Osama bin Laden. This is the guy who's running for president now, and he's got essentially sort of a clown show of a campaign.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's composed of various people who don't know what they're doing, including the candidate. And so they have a tendency to just say things and like, oh my God, I didn't mean to say that, and retract them. Now, that stuff worked for Donald Trump, but Kennedy is not Donald Trump, and he's kind of trying to be.
Anyone want to push back on that?
I was just going to say, I feel like we're saying the same thing as what we said in 2020 or 2016 when Trump was running. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, but Trump is still running, though. It's the thing. That lane is still Trump's lane.
But one of the things, but we didn't know it was Trump's lane in 2016. We just never thought it was going to happen. But one of the questions I have, because I think I'm the only person, this is for Chris, that I still think RFK takes Trump voters more than they take Biden voters, because I think it's the same.
It's a super interesting question, and it's sort of the moment that we're in right now, and that's why.
You want me to play the video? Okay, so this video is going around. It is from Rita Palma. She is listed, at least as of last night, as the New York director for Kennedy's presidential campaign. It's making the round on social. Play it.
Nobody gets to 270, then Congress picks the president. So who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick? If it's a Republican Congress, they'll pick Trump. So we're rid of Biden either way.
All right, so the campaign's been asked about this. Here's what they told us in a statement. They said, quote, she is not involved in electoral strategy nationally or in New York. This was not a campaign event. She was speaking as a private citizen. You see the statement on the screen. What's going on here?
They're saying that because they don't want to alienate Democrats who would come over because it'll make Trump president, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is what is the rationale here? What's the thinking? To your question, who does this hurt more? And she's making a very convincing argument to, I assume, a Republican-leading audience. Yes. Actually, this hurts Biden a lot more. And I think a lot of Republicans are going to get more excited about RFK because they're going to say, hey, look, this guy's really going to kill Biden and Trump's going to win New York, because basically she was making this argument that because of RFK, that Joe Biden would not win New York by 2 million votes like he did last time. See, I'm using numbers, not percentages. By 2 million votes as he did last time, but that Donald Trump will win with a plurality. And I can see a lot of Republicans getting high on the hopium here and that it's all going to happen, it's going to do this stuff. But I would be careful if I was a Republican, because in the battleground states, we don't know where RFK is going to get on the ballot, but in the battleground states, among the voters who most want to burn the world down and who are most fed up with the establishment of both parties and most whatever.
You're nodding yes. You're nodding yes.
If I was a Republican, I wouldn't want RFK Jr. on the ballot in Arizona. I wouldn't want him on the ballot in North Carolina. I wouldn't want him on the ballot in Georgia.
Live by the poll, die by the poll. Franklin and Marshall poll in Pennsylvania last week showed that Joe Biden leading Donald Trump by 10 in a multi-candidate race where RFK Jr. is there. That 10-point lead becomes a 2-point lead. Another poll by Eckes, the Democratic firm in Arizona, swing state, Nevada, swing state, shows that RFK Jr. pulls so many votes from among Hispanic voters from the electorate that Trump almost beats, if not beats, Joe Biden among that segment of the electorate, and he would win that state.
So you're saying that it's taken Biden
so far it is.
But correct, so far, because usually in this point of polling, when you look at these, like, Democrats are generally unsatisfied with their nominee because they're always wanting to be bigger and bolder. There's a good chunk of people there. This president has a particular a favorability problem. But when the election closes in the end, Democrats come home, those numbers solidify, and that small segment, I think, of like this changing GOP base, I think they're looking for a home. They may go the
I think Republicans should be very careful about what they wish for here.
And the Trump campaign is actually doing stuff about it, and the RNC is doing stuff about it. They are taking it seriously. Democrats are just taking it more seriously, and they're more scared of RFK.
All right. Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.